everyone, it's Kayla. Welcome back to my channel, or to my channel if you're new here. Today is definitely going to be a different video in probably the last of its topics. If you don't know, then I was involved in a sorority in my freshman year of college. I was a student at the University of Louisville, and I just want to talk about my experience with that. I like the whole process, how I joined, kind of what we did, and why I left. So let's jump right into that. So just a little backstory. Obviously, I feel like as a girl, like even guys too, you're so like, I don't know, not pressured, but like it's kind of a big deal, Greek life in colleges and stuff. I didn't go to something like Alabama, like I wasn't at Alabama, so Greek life wasn't like #1 thing, like your whole university revolves around it. But at U of L, which if you don't know is the University of Louisville, located in Kentucky, Greek life is not like a huge thing, but it's kind of a big deal there. It's definitely not like, you know, you're left out if you don't join by any means. No, not at all. But for me, I kind of went into it with like like I just want to kind of see how it is. I don't come from like, I'm not a legacy to anything. I don't come from a sorority or fraternity family. So I had no like background, no experience with that. But I definitely wanted to talk about it just because I feel like it's something that needs to be talked about. And you know, I didn't think I was gonna make this video, but here we are, just for the sake of being open and honest about experiences like that. So I was a student at University of Louisville. In case you didn't know, I left U of L. I'm at EKU now, so if you want to know more about that, go check that out. But when I was at U of L, that was last year, so 2023 to 2024 school year. I was a freshman there. Again, had no experience, but information about like Rush and Panhellenic and stuff like that started popping up on like Instagram and stuff, and you know, you would get emails about like sign up for, you know, Rush Week, stuff like that. So I signed up, as one does. I don't know if I kept my notes from that, but let's see if I did. Okay, I do have some Rush notes here. Yeah, I have Rush notes because, you know, you go to every house and stuff. I'm not going to go through like a day-by-day thing just because every university is different and they will go over all of that with you. I know U of L provided a lot of information that was really helpful to me and helped me learn a lot more about the whole Rush experience and stuff. But I went to it not having like a house in mind. You know, a lot of people go into it wanting like, I want this sorority house, or I want this one, or I'm a legacy with them, so I want to also join that one. I didn't go into it with that, so I went into it very open-minded, no background. I didn't know anything about anything really. But here are all of the houses that were at U of L. So there's Kappa Delta, Sigma Kappa, Zeta Tau Alpha, Chi Omega, Delta Zeta, Pi Beta Phi, Kappa Alpha Theta, and then Alpha Omicron Pi. Those were the houses. There were 9 of them, according to my numbers. Don't quote me on that though. Could have gotten something wrong, but yeah, those were the houses. They had more school, like not as like fun. They had, I don't know what they call it, but more school-based like Greek life as well. One was for like, you know, your more STEM. They had like a STEM one, I think. I don't remember what that one was called, but I know U of L had that. And then obviously they have their frats as well. I don't know all the frats. I, again, wasn't super deep into it or anything, but I went through Rush Week. I actually, the house that I was in, so my top 3s, I will say, my top 1, like the first day, dropped me. Like, so the way it works is it's kind of like a mutual thing. You put your top choices and then the sorority puts their top choices. So my top choice is based off of day one, so I hadn't like seen or really got to know them that deep yet. The top one for me dropped me, and that kind of was like, oh wow. That was one of those moments where it's like, oh, okay, so this is like not normal. Because I'm someone who, like, I'm not trying to like be, oh, I'm the best of everything, like I'm not, but I'm someone who's kind of gotten what I've wanted throughout life, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm very privileged in that aspect, and I am very grateful for, you know, the opportunities I've had and stuff like that. So that was kind of one of the first times I wasn't necessarily like, I wouldn't call it rejected. I think everything worked out the way it was supposed to, and I'm like a believer in that thing, and like God will put me where I am supposed to be. And, you know, they dropped me, and I kept going throughout the process. I was kind of like, oh, well, I don't really know, but I'll keep giving him a shot. So down to, you know, houses and stuff. I'm not gonna read off everything. Well, we can read through some of these notes because I think these are kind of important to go through. So we'll start with Zeta Tau Alpha. So some of my notes were kind of awkward, so sweet and genuine, love the conversations, felt like home. This was actually one of the top 2s for me, was Zeta. For Sigma Kappa, I put amazing, so sweet and genuine, conversations were so natural. Obviously that did not work out. Next one we have Pi Beta Phi, really sweet. Sweet girls seem genuine, sometimes awkward, but also new people. I was not a big fan of Pi Phi. A lot of people like Pi Phi. It just didn't feel like home to me. I didn't really feel like that was it for me. Moving on to Delta Zeta, super nice girls, very down to earth, sometimes awkward. So I feel like for these ones where it was like sometimes awkward, that was a sign to me like, hey, this isn't for you. But keep listening, sort of thing. I didn't love DZ that much either. I didn't feel like I belonged there, and with that crowd. Now, they were bad girls, they were amazing girls, they just weren't like the type for me, sort of thing. Moving on, we have Alpha Omicron Pi, nice girls but awkward, didn't really feel like I fit, and I totally agreed with that. That was, so on my, like, I think they call it your pref day or whatever, or bid card, I don't know. Even now, after going through the whole process, I still don't know how it all worked really. But down to like the top 3 choices that I had, it wasn't one of my tops, but they kept like bringing me back. I was not a fan. Again, it was not the girls, it just wasn't for me. And I think that's something that you'll see a lot in sororities and fraternities, is like everyone is amazing, but you have to find the people that you're gonna get along with, the place that feels like home for you. Just like, I feel like, I don't know, like a school, like whenever you go to tour schools, or at least in Jefferson County, which is where I went to school throughout elementary through high school, you kind of went and toured, decided like, hey, like, okay, this school is nice, but it's just not for me. Or like if you're house hunting, then you're like, hey, like this is a cute house, but this area is just not for me, sort of thing. I feel like that's how sororities kind of are. Kaio, I put nice girls, seem real, and then Katie, so sweet, love this house so much, felt perfect and like home. This was my top choice day one, Katie. They dropped me day one, which looking back, I'm very grateful for. I think everything worked out again the way it was supposed to. And now let's talk about my like top 3 choices at the end. It was AOPI, Theta, and then Zeta. Now I want to talk about like I said, AOPI, not for me. I knew almost immediately that that house and me, just I knew that I would not be happy in that house. Zeta was a runner, a top runner for like since day one. I actually loved that house. Almost every single conversation I had felt so genuine. The girls were all so sweet. There was just one conversation that I had that kind of was like, oh, like, and it wasn't even the house or like anything. It was just me and that girl didn't click. And I want to preface by saying, again, she was an amazing person. Sometimes you just don't have chemistry with another person, and that is okay. So I didn't hold that against the house or anything. That was still like a top house for me. And then lastly, we have Kappa Alpha Theta. Now, what's funny, if you don't know, if you haven't seen any of my previous like videos or anything, I was in Theta. That was like what I ended up being in. That was my sorority. I absolutely hated that house day one. The conversations I had with the girls I did not like. Again, it was not the girls, it was just we did not click. But yeah, I hated that house. But I think the more I went back, the more conversations I had, I became like in love. I loved it so much. So then pref day, because it was between Zeta and Theta, and I think I would have been happy in either house, but ultimately I chose Theta, and it was just based off of the conversations. I just had not necessarily better conversations, but I just clicked more, if that makes sense. So I ended up at Theta. That was amazing. And then once you start really getting involved in the sorority is kind of when, not really I disliked it, but when I started to realize, hey, like, I don't think this is gonna work for me. If you don't know anything about sororities, they do have a point system, and I don't know if this is actually like a universal thing for all sororities. I'm fairly certain it is, but I know for us anyways, like, we had a point system. You had to have so many points to stay like an active member, I guess is what you call it. And those were not really necessarily hard to get, but when you are someone who has a job, is super active in school, is trying to balance all of these things, it's a lot. Like, it gets really hard. So the first semester, I did it. I completed it. I was initiated and stuff. Like, everything was going fine. There was just, you know, things that kept adding up to me, giving me signs, like God telling me like, hey, like, I don't think this is for you, sort of thing. Sororities are, if I'm being honest, filled with drama. They are very drama filled. It's not, I feel like a sorority stereotype is kind of true. You have your partiers, you have your drama, your clickiness. That's all very true. And I don't like saying that. I don't want to believe it, and I hate that it is true, but that's the truth. Like, in my personal experience, and again, this is not the same for everyone, but for me, I noticed a lot of clickiness. I noticed a lot of like people choosing not to necessarily outcast other people, but to kind of like just stick with their friends and not really talk to other people. There was drama. There was just all of this stuff that didn't really align with me. And I don't talk about religion too much on this channel just because, you know, I feel like there's also a stigma around religion. Like, I am a Christian, but there's so many stereotypes out there. Like, it gets hard to balance everything. But I'm a Christian, and I did go to parties. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I did drink. And I don't say this to promote that. Like, one, it is illegal, but two, I was not the happiest when I did those things. And I just felt like God was like telling me like, hey, like, this isn't the life for you. Like, this isn't the lifestyle that you should be living. So, all of that happened, and it started to make me really think about like, hey, like, I'm considering dropping. And again, the girls all super nice. It didn't really feel like it was benefiting me. It wasn't necessarily like harming me or any way, like in any way or sort of thing. Like, it was good, it wasn't worth it, and it's expensive. Sororities are gonna dig a deep hole in your wallet if you don't know. Now you do. But I was starting to consider it, and then, you know, winter break happened, and I came back and just didn't really feel like anything really changed, sort of thing. Like, if anything, I felt like it got worse. And then, if you don't know, I was in a car accident in late January. If you want to hear about that, then go watch that as well. but that kind of caused me to have to leave everything. That was, I didn't really have a choice sort of thing. Like and sorry if you can hear my dog barking. He's barking at Lord knows what. But I had to go inactive in my sorority because I was, you know, in a cast, couldn't really move too much. So I was in a cast. Okay, sorry. I had to get them to stop barking, that way you can actually hear me. I don't quite remember what I was saying. Oh, yeah. I was in a car accident, so that kind of like forced me to have to leave a lot of things, and I think that was a very eye-opening experience of having to leave. That really made me have to like sit back and think like, okay, this isn't for me. I didn't really like it, and you know, I still talk with some people, and I have a friend who's in it. I'm not gonna say names or anything. And you know, we still talk about it sometimes, and it doesn't really change. And I didn't feel like that lifestyle was for me. Like, I'm not a big partier, I'm not a big drinker, like I don't like drama sort of thing. Like, I'm a very like, hey, can we all just get along? Like, why can't we all just get along? Like, why can't we be girls, you know, sort of thing. So I dropped. It wasn't for me, and I just want to say, like, I don't want you to watch this video and think, oh, I shouldn't join a sorority. I am a strong believer that everyone's experiences are different, and just because I disliked it doesn't mean that you will. Like, you may absolutely love it. It could be life-changing for you. It could be the best thing to ever happen. And I hate when people try to like push their opinions on you and be like, oh, like, you shouldn't join a sorority, or when people are like, oh, you need to, like, if you want to, go for it, but you don't have to either. It's kind of like a personal decision where it's like, hey, is it worth it for you? Like, is it gonna benefit you? Do you see yourself enjoying it? Do you like that sort of environment? Because I do think it was very good for me in like aspects of, I got to meet a lot of people. Like, I get to have some of that college experience, because I'm a very introverted person. I don't just go out and do like philanthropy events. I don't just go out and go to parties. I don't just, you know, I didn't just do stuff like that. So I'm grateful for that like eye-opening sort of thing, but it was just a very unique experience, and looking back, I have no regrets. I'm very glad I did it. I think that it was good for me, and I'm glad that I got to say like, hey, I was in a sorority. Like, that was a dream ever since I was little, in a way of like doing that, but you know, it wasn't what I thought it would be. So I would just go into it with an open mind, but also be realistic. And I feel like this is something that I like to live by. Like, you want to have high hopes, but like realistic expectations, because you could love something, you could not, but don't let it ruin anything for you, and don't let anyone else's opinions decide that for you either. Other than that, I really don't have too much, and I'm not throwing shade towards sororities, my sorority, sororities in general, or U of L. Like, it was a good experience overall, and I have no regrets, and I wouldn't go, I wouldn't change anything, but I did want to be honest and talk about that, just because more people need to. It's not all butterflies and rainbows. It's not all gloomy either, so don't take that from this video, but there's the realistic aspect of things, and I wanted to talk about that. But that's all I have. I hope this was helpful. If not, then I'm sorry. But I probably won't be talking about sororities ever again. So this is your one video spiel on that. But thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to help support me. And then don't forget to tune back in next Friday to watch another one. But I'll see y'all next week. Bye!